Good morning once again. This is our lecture 5, and we'll be discussing literature review. We would like to know what literature review is and how we are going to review literature. Before the session ends, these are the objectives we would like to achieve. So, one, to describe the purposes of a research literature review. Two, identify bibliographic aids for retrieving nursing research reports and locate references for a research topic. Then three, discuss the steps involved in writing a literature review. And then four, evaluate the style, content, and organization of a traditional literature review. First of all, let's look at the term literature review. So if you have literature there and we have review there. What is literature? Literature simply means any form of creative writing. Any form of writing is a literature. So whether storybook, whether a textbook, whether a prose, whether poems, these are all forms of creative writing, and therefore they can be classified as literature. What about review? Review simply means to re-examine or to examine something again, to reassess or to re-evaluate something again. So when we talk of literature review, it means you are reading someone's work and then you need to re-examine what you are writing. So whenever we give you an assignment, before you answer the questions, you review literature. It means you have been doing them always. But today, consciously, let's look at how we are going to review literature. So first of all, we are saying a literature review is a written summary of the state of existing knowledge on a research problem. Or literally, we can say it is the digging into literature to find out what has been written about the topic one is interested in investigating. So now, what are the importance of literature review to the researcher or you as a student or as a student researcher? What are the importance of literature review? One, when you review literature, it helps you develop research ideas. Two, it helps you determine the knowledge on a topic of interest. Three, it provides a context or a background for a study. Four, it helps determine any gaps or inadequacies in the research. Then, the fifth one, it helps determine the need to replicate a prior study in a different setting or with a different study population. And then finally, it provides assistance in interpreting study findings and in developing implications and recommendations. Basically, the information for a literature review can be categorized into two. So we talk of sources of information for a literature review. So we have the primary sources and we have the secondary sources of literature. Primary sources of literature, what are they? They are research reports, which are descriptions of the research studies written by the researchers who conducted the research. Or we can say they are original articles and reports in which researchers communicate directly to the reader on the methods and results of their study. So examples are research articles and reports in referred or peer-reviewed journals. When we talk of primary sources, it's simply when we are taking the information from from a research report which were written by the authors or the researchers of the work. Then we are saying you are taking the information from a primary source. So for example, when you read research articles or research reports in referred or peer-reviewed journals, it is the individuals or the researchers or the authors who did their research. They are the ones who reported them directly. And we are saying whenever you are reading journal articles, mostly you are taking the information from primary sources. So what are the importance of primary sources of literature? One, it allows for more informed judgment about the quality and usefulness of the information. Two, they tend not to be distorted through being summarized or reported in another form. And then the third one, it provides sufficient details about research studies. Now, the secondary sources, on the other hand, are research documents. Okay, these research documents are descriptions of research studies prepared by someone other than the original researcher. So they tend to review, summarizes, or discusses someone else's research. So for example, information in textbooks and literature review summaries, they are classified as secondary sources. What you are trying to say is, for the secondary sources, it is not the original researchers who describe or who wrote that particular information. They are someone else who have read the original article, and then the person is reporting. So in that instance, the person tries to review, summarizes, or discusses the author's research or the researcher's work, but they are not the ones who actually did the research. So mostly information in textbooks are normally secondary sources, and the literature review summaries are secondary sources of literature. The importance: it provides bibliographical information on relevant primary sources, and also secondary sources provide overview of topic, often citing relevant research studies and important primary sources. Now, how are we going to locate relevant literature for a research review? We are saying we can use the print resources, that is reference materials in periodicals and books. So whenever you are using print resources for literature review, it means you are using books, magazines, maybe newspapers. Those ones are print resources. So you can use that and locate your information for a literature review. But what are the challenges? We are saying expanding use of the internet are making the manual methods or the print resources of finding information obsolete. It means they are becoming outmoded or archaic, because some books are written long time and they've not been reviewed or they've not been edited so that we get the current edition. And therefore, whenever you are doing a literature review for your research and you try to use those type of books, it means you are going to get information that are archaic. They are not current. Apart from that, you can locate information from by using internet search engines such as Google. So you go to Google, you type in what you want to find, and then you get the information. But what is the challenge with this? So we are saying interesting information is generated, but not likely to obtain comprehensive bibliographical information. And if you don't take time, this might frustrate you. So we suggest that as a researcher, you use the internet search engine using Google Scholar or PubMed. That is where you are going to get scholarly research or scholarly work which are authentic which you can use for your literature review. Also, we have electronic literature databases that you can access online or by using CD-ROM. So, for example, these are what of electronic literature databases. These are electronic databases that contain nursing studies. So, for example, when you go to CINAHL, that is the Cumulative Index to Nursing and Allied Health Literature online, you can get a lot of database on nursing research. So now, as we mentioned journal articles as primary sources of information for literature review, and therefore I would like us to go through journal articles. So what are journal articles? We are saying research journal articles are reports that summarize a study or one aspect of a complex study. Journal space is limited, therefore a typical research article is relatively brief, usually 5 to 25 manuscript pages, which are double spaced. This means that the researcher must condense a lot of information into a short space. Research reports are accepted by journals on a competitive basis and are critically reviewed before acceptance for publication. So after your final project work, you can decide to publish your work in a journal, and you need to follow these steps. First of all, what are the sections of a journal report, articles, or papers? Anytime you download a journal article, you see the title of the paper or the article. You see the authors, that is the writers or the researchers, and where they are affiliated to. Then you see the abstract. The abstract simply talk about the summary of the study. Then, when you come to the main section of the journal article, which we've given the acronym IMRAD, we have the introduction section, method section, results section, and discussion section. Then we have the acknowledgement and then the references. But the main section where you can get the information is from the introduction section, method section, results section, and then the discussion section. So now if you want to prepare a written literature review, what are you going to do? First of all, you need to formulate a question. Then you devise a search strategy. Then thirdly, you need to conduct the search. Then you try to retrieve relevant sources. You read and then you abstract the information. Then you need to critique the information or the studies first. Then you analyze the aggregated information. Then finally, you prepare a written synthesis. So if you want to write a literature review, these are the processes you need to go through. So these are the sources of my information you can contact and read. These are some sample questions. 1. Differentiate between primary and secondary sources of information. 2. List the sections in chronological order that you would find in a journal article. And then the third one, describe the steps in preparing a written literature review. Thanks for your attention. We'll meet again. Bye for now.